This is Super 88.1 FM, your number one family radio station. Today is Wednesday, the 17th of April. Welcome to Today's Woman.
We come through like. We come through your speakers like.
I'm not regular.
Oh no. Believe it or not, every day we getting closer. We getting closer every day. Super FM.
Oh, I love this.
Super FM.
It's now 1 minute past 1 p.m. Today's Wednesday, the 17th of April, 2024. My name is George Chooks. You're on to your number one family radio station, Super 88.1 FM. Let's get into it. Around this time every Wednesday, we'll sit down and talk about issues that affect the modern woman. I'm also live right now on Facebook, Super FM Benin or Super 881 FM. It'll take you to the exact same place. Like I always say, when you join my live, do well to say hi, you have arrived, and I'll say hi to you right back. We've been having a series of, first of all, this show is sponsored by the Office of the First Lady of Edo State, Her Excellency Mrs. Betsy Obataki, and I must say she's doing a fantastic job in Edo State. Let's jump into conversation. Sometime last year, I had a rather robust conversation, if I remember correctly, on the breakfast show on the cost of medication. A lot of things were blamed for the rising costs in medication. A very high-level risk was the exiting of several pharmaceutical companies from Nigeria, which saw the drugs move from just being available in the country to now being imported. We saw drugs go with 100, 200, 250% markup, and it was crazy. And another time, there was this, let me call it a pandemic, but a lot of people talking about having seen fake foods, fake beverages in Nigeria. And one thing I said to them was, if you knew that we had fake clothing and fake designers, how did you think it would not affect food items? What were the odds? It was a laugh around that time, but it was very, very worrisome. Now, back to the case about medication. When I had this conversation around medication, I asked you if you would like to see Nigeria's return back to their roots. What are their roots? Herbal medication. A number of people agreed and said yes, they would like to see more Nigerians return to herbal medication. In fact, we had a number of people call and explain that, they've been part of a certain kind of research for herbal medication, how we need some sort of government control on herbal medication and la dita. What I failed to consider at that time was that the average Nigerian involved every single person, including women, and most importantly, including pregnant women. Now, a news outlet in Nigeria reported yesterday that the high cost of drugs, orthodox services, is making pregnant women return to traditional antenatal and traditional birthing homes. Now, in rural Nigeria, where a lot of fully standard hospitals do not fully exist, we have something called, local birthing homes, where you would go to a woman who was assumed to be a midwife, whether or not she had the experience or training. Let me not say experience, let me say training, because a lot of these midwives have delivered hundreds of babies, but, they were not trained medically. And these, quote-unquote, midwife or this local birthing homes would charge a minuscule sometimes in comparison to your average private hospital to deliver your child. But that's not all these birthing homes would offer to these women. Some of these birthing homes would also offer antenatal services for a fraction of the cost that you would get in your local private or maybe government-owned facilities. Now, herbal remedies used to be the saving grace for many Nigerians or many Africans. Let's not come here and toss it to the wind, especially during illness. Speaking to you, I've had my fair share of agbo at some point in my life. So I can't sit here and act brand new. I can't sit here and pretend that I don't know that this thing is happening. However, these herbal medication reduced in popularity as more and more civilization came into the country. Most people relied on modern medicine, especially because these medications did not cost an arm and a leg. Whether it is analgesics or anti-malaria or typhoid, amongst others, these drugs were readily available and they were easy to buy at affordable prices. However, things have changed. We see drugs that used to be 5,000 naira, you hear them, they are 12,000 naira, they are 20,000 naira. This did not exclude pregnant women and antenatal services. In fact, it was found in this report that with a sum of between 5,000 to 10,000 naira, a pregnant woman could access antenatal services from local birthing homes. In the past, this same 5,000 to 10,000 naira would help you get quality antenatal services in a hospital with modern medicine. But it seems at this time, things have taken a reverse. Now, a few people were interviewed for this particular report that was put together. One woman by the name Mrs. Anirat Hassan, who was a food vendor, said she had a baby in a herbal birthing home a few months back. She says the process was very easy for her and she took all the herbs that was prescribed and also did massages and ate well. She said she paid 10,000 naira for antenatal services throughout the entire 9-month period and then paid 20,000 naira for the birthing process itself. Now, she said that this was not her first choice. She said she visited a hospital and she was told that she would pay 1,500 naira for weekly antenatal services, which would be a total of 6,000 naira monthly. And then she found out that the birthing itself would charge around 100,000 naira to 150,000 naira. And then, if it came down to surgery, if a cesarean operation was going to be carried out, it would cost between 400,000 naira and 500,000 naira. In her words, and I quote, "I borrowed my ears and legs and visited a herbal home." And this is just one story. Now, modern medicine have consistently spoken against herbal medication for different reasons. Some say it is not easy to get the dosage appropriately. Some say it can be harmful for the infant or the fetus. Some say it might have long-term effects on the kidney and the liver. I am not a medical practitioner, so I do not have the power to speak on that. However, the time has come for us to use our tongues to count our teeth. I read this article and he brought up the question. I had asked this question before when I had this conversation, I think last year on the Breakfast Show, if we were ready to return to herbal medication. Now I'm asking, on today's women, for pregnant women, if the economy has gotten so tough, should pregnant women be expected to return back to herbal practices? Should pregnant women be having one agbo or the other they will be drinking in the name of antenatal? Remember, on our show today, Mother and Child, we spoke exhaustively about the importance of antenatal on Monday. We spoke about malaria and pregnancy and how debilitating it can be. And the doctor did mention that these are some things that they check for when you go for antenatal, and a number of very important checks in the laboratory in the hospital. So antenatal is not something that you play with. You take it seriously. Are we now saying that Nigerian mothers, expectant mothers, should go back to their herbal practices, to local birthing homes for antenatal, or take herbal medication for both antenatal and, a herbal birthing home to put the child to birth? Talk to me. I want to hear your thoughts. These are very worrying times for me, and I must know the way forward. So what do you think? Has time come to go back to our roots? Has time come to go back to what our forefathers and foremothers used to do? Is it entirely safe? Do we support it? Do we stand behind it? Call me up and talk to me. And if you're an expectant mother, or you're a woman, or even a man who's had a child, how much did antenatal cost you, especially recently? I'm talking this year or last year. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Here are the numbers to call: 0705 512 9881, 0705 572 7881. We also have 0812 753 6932. For text and for WhatsApp, we have 0705 967 6881. I'm currently live on Facebook as well, so you can leave a comment on Facebook and join the conversation. On Facebook, we are at Super FM Benin or Super 881 FM. Hello, good afternoon. Hello? Oof. Do call me back, 0812-753-6932, 0705-512-9881, 0705-572-7881. And of course, for text and WhatsApp, we have 0705-967-6881. And the question is simple. Looking at the high cost of medical services, from medication to antenatal services to childbirthing process, should Nigerian women be returning to herbal practices? Should Nigerian women go back to the local birthing homes, especially those that already have access to modern medicine? Should they, because they cannot afford it, find other ways to birth their children? Should they be drinking one agbo or the other to keep themselves fit and keep the baby safe? Because health is a priority in pregnancy. We can't lie. We can't play with it. The health of the mother affects the health of the fetus. So when the mother cannot afford modern medicine at all, should she go back to herbals? Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome. What's your name and where you're calling us from, please?
This is Mr. Soccer.
Please turn down the volume on your radio set.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you so much. What did you say was your name, please?
This is Mr. Soccer. I'm calling from Upper Sakumba.
Happy to have you, Mr. Osakwe. Talk to us.
Yeah. As you were analyzing your this program, it really hits me. I had my first 3 children after the former specialist hospital in the state. From 2012 upward. And I remember I didn't pay them. There was an amount that I was told to deposit. After the delivery of a woman, checking her and all that, before you go home, they refund that money to you.
Wow. What time period is this?
From 2012. 2013, I had one 2013, I had one 2014. I also had one in 2018.
Amazing. Go ahead, please.
Now, I had another one just recently. That was on Christmas Day last year.
Congratulations.
My sister, that is in this new building that we have in those states here.
No, Sapler Road.
Yes, the one of Shomole built. All the money that I didn't pay for the first, second, I said, I think I paid more than.
Wow.
In this last one. So I wanted to have a good health care delivery for my wife. That's why I went there. And that was what I thought too. But I'm so disappointed. I think that the one I had now is my last. Should be my last. Should be, yes, because the money,
the cost of having the child.
It's just too much. See, when you talked about the HAVA procedure for delivering children just now, I'm so, in my heart, I just welcome it. I wish I still need to have another one. I think that would have been the best, because we know some of these women you're talking about, they're in our rural areas. Some are even in town, at the moment. Some of them are midwives who are retired. We know some of these people. I think it's better. These people should be well trained, and so that they can carry out this, process, because the government, they are not doing anything for the ordinary people. The effect of government does not rub the ordinary people at all. It's so hard right now. This is not when a little boy will kind of impregnate and maybe another girl or say, okay, make una start life. No, this is not the era. That era passed. Giving birth this time is luxury.
I understand. Thank you so much, Mr. Osakwe. Much appreciated. When Mr. Osakwe spoke about this might be his last child because of cost, it made me think about some messages I've received from outside the country. some countries that are heavily capitalist, a country like America. I saw somebody write a really long thread, being American, saying that there's a kind of issue you could have in childbirth in a country like that, and it could bankrupt you. That was how expensive it is to birth a child in some of these Western countries. Not all of them, because there are still some Western countries where birthing a child is absolutely free. In fact, there are some of them when after you've birthed the child for free, the government would even send you a package to say you're starting a new life. So have this thing and put it in your pocket and have that for going for yourself. But that's not what we have right now. Like our last caller just indicated, he said between the years of 2012 and 2018, he had 3 children and did not pay a dime for 3 children in the specialist hospital. And then he went again to the same specialist hospital in 2023 and everything was different. He paid through his nose. And is now saying that, if he even knew the option of herbal was there, he would have taken it. Are we also leaning in the same direction? Should expectant families, expectant mothers, expectant fathers, should they lean towards getting herbal care during the pregnancy period? Now, I spoke to a doctor earlier about this case of the cost of antenatal and childbirth. He gave me some really great insights, which I'll be giving to you as well towards the close of this show. But first of all, I want us to deliberate on it. Are we going back to Agbo for antenatal? I mean, some would say, it works for our forefathers. Why won't it work for us? Who I was given birth to in a herbal home. And also, sometimes these birthing homes are not as colloquial as we think. I remember I had a guest one time who told me that their NGO was involved in going to rural areas to train midwives and work with these women side by side. So it may not be all the way negative. But let's get some calls. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you calling us from, please?
Elizabeth, calling from New Guinea.
Happy to have you, Elizabeth. Talk to us.
This childbirth of a thing, right? The thing, it's on the tire, we singles. Whether we will come the born now, we don't understand.
You go born, no?
It's so expensive. I think, is it February or March? One of our family friends, he put to birth. This one is not even CS now. Safe delivery, not CS. He spent about 96,000 naira.
My goodness.
Just to give birth to one child, like just one. And it's not as if it was operation or anything, just safe delivery. She delivered herself.
And was this a private or government hospital?
Private hospital, my sister.
Maybe smart to know.
When you even go to the government hospital, they tend not to attend to them properly.
Wow.
Because people are much there, I don't understand.
Unbelievable.
So the last time, one of them, she was even shouting. They didn't even, it wasn't as if she was even there. They didn't even attend to her. They didn't answer her.
Wow.
A government hospital now. So that's why some persons try to go for private, but at the end of the day, it's expensive. Even in the government hospital, it's still expensive. Cheap. That's why you see some people at the end of the day, they will just end up going for these midwives. If you owe 15,000, 20,000 naira, they go do one for you. If you compare 15,000, 20,000 naira to 96,000 naira, you see the difference. They don't even know if that person is safe, or if the midwife they are going for, if the thing she'll be using is even safe for them, the razor blade or the needle or whatever. If they are treated, they would rather go and risk their life there because of the cost.
As well.
And you know how Nigeria is right now, how things are expensive. So I don't even understand. And I could feel the pain from the man that called, like having how many children. And he just said that, this one will be my last.
As well.
And even those people that are young, when they think about getting pregnant and giving birth to children, they will just have that fear that going for antenatal and giving birth is just so expensive. And I don't know why.
Wow. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate this insight that you've provided with me. It's now 1:19 p.m. Wait, I'm counting down the seconds. About to be 1:20. I like to be... it's 1:20 right now. Let's look at the report that we had from the newspaper before. Of other people that were interviewed, one of them also really struck to me. Now, this woman claimed that her husband is a herbal practitioner, which made her just go ahead and do the herbal practices for her pregnancy. And she said this cost us next to nothing, especially because her husband was the herbal practitioner. But then she added something. She said a friend of hers who couldn't afford hospital bills when she gave birth had to sleep under the stairs of the hospital because they took the bed away from her for 2 months before her husband's family members and her family members were able to gather the money they were going to pay for the birth of the child. Bringing a child into the world might cost you your own livelihood, your own life, your own time, everything. It could be worrisome. However, this is not to castigate medical doctors or hospitals. For one thing, private hospitals are businesses. Sometimes people say, you're a hospital, you can't be doing this, you are dealing with life. But remember, it's a business. And this business has running costs. They'll have to pay staff, from the medical staff, from the doctors, to the nurses, to the midwife, to the anesthesiologist. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word correctly. It's a big word for me. But people who provide anesthesia, during surgeries. They are the lab scientists. They are the radiologists. All of these are staff. They are the non-medical staff. They're the cleaners. They're the janitors. They're the receptionists. They're the gate man. Then they have to buy diesel. Then they have to buy the drugs that they are going to use as well. All of these things cost money. And it's not so surprising that as things are, the way everything is getting expensive, the way your garri is going up, so is medication. So it's not all that surprising that the cost of health has risen as well. But what happens to the rest of us? Should we, like the women in these stories, go to our herbal practitioners? Has it always been a success story? I'll tell you a story that was not a success story. Hello, good afternoon. Oh, welcome, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, I'm calling back.
Okay.
You see, so many men that they tend to prepare for their wife's delivery. But at the end of the day, no matter how prepared they are, it will look as if they did not prepare at all. Some of them, they'll just project, okay, like, cost past 80K. For them to get to the hospital, you're telling them it's 150. Wow, she's going to the knife, like she's going to deliver safely.
No CS.
By herself, and you're telling them 150. You see how difficult it is. So if at all we are going to be having midwives, because I have an aunt, she has 3 children, and they were all delivered by a midwife. Complication after pregnancy, nothing. The midwives, though, also have some medical training. Just to equip those midwives, they should develop them, because that lady, she's in Delta State. She has this medical training. They even issued her a certificate as a nurse. She went for the training and she delivers them safely. Take care of them. In a situation where she has to bring in a doctor, she will bring in a doctor.
So the government should take seriously the training of these midwives instead of us to return to herbal.
Maybe all these hospitals are doing shakara for all the thing will reduce.
Elizabeth, you crack me up.
When my aunt wanted to have the last child, she was having some complications. 2 doctors already stand by there.
Interesting. That's a really nice place.
And my aunt didn't go for CS. She gave her to the child safely because at that point the midwife didn't know what to do from there. So if they can equip them like this, everything will come down. Because there's a particular government hospital, especially in Edo State, I don't want to mention, they tend not to attend to people the way it should be. It's an hospital. You have to be an hospital person. Like you have to. That hospitality is not there in that particular hospital, and it should not be called an hospital if they are behaving that way.
All right, thank you so much.
No, they won't answer you. I don't want to mention names.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Elizabeth. We've got Kelly on our Facebook. Says, good afternoon. Antenatal for women should go and register for a clinic for better treatment of their health and their babies. Native or Agbo is not advisable to a pregnant woman. Please make sure you register for your antenatal today, Mr. Kelly. Thank you. That's what we're talking about, Mr. Kelly. But now they're saying that they cannot afford to register for antenatal. That is the wahala that we are in now. They are saying it's too expensive. They are saying if you divide the money for hospital into 20 places, you take one of it and use it to pay for the herbal woman going to work. But does it always work? Like the story that Elizabeth just shared of a little bit of a complication that happened in the hospital, in the birthing home, and said luckily there were doctors there. All birthing homes do not have doctors there. I have lost a close family friend to one of these local herbal birthing homes. There were complications during the birth process. She started to bleed heavily, and before they could get to the hospital, she passed away. That would not be the first, second, or the third story of what could happen in those birthing homes. And even before you get to the day of birth, this is the most important part, the antenatal, the care you get before then. On our other show on mother and child care, we've spoken about how dangerous malaria that we take very casually, how malaria can be dangerous to a fetus, to the point of entering into the, what do they call them? What's it called? Who's going to remind? Who's going to remind the one that they caught? What's it called? Umbilical cord. Thank you so much. And then affect fetal development. So there was a time that we also spoke about high blood pressure. These are things that will get checked on when you go for your antenatal. And sometimes, most times even, these local birthing homes may not provide that. And like Elizabeth has mentioned, that there should be more training. There are agencies, governmental agencies and non-governmental agencies that are trying to partner with these birthing homes for them to get the training that they need. But then the drugs again will still be expensive if they were going to prescribe medication for you, if they had the authorities to prescribe medication. A particular matron was asked about this. She was a matron in a private hospital, and she said that the reason for the high rise in hospital services and drugs was due to import bills incurred by pharmaceutical companies and high cost of maintenance and other expenses as a result of increase in the cost of goods and services in the country. She says it is not the hospital's fault. Everything is getting too expensive and they are also struggling to foot their own bills. She says the major cause of increase in pricing is because of the import bills attached to, getting drugs in the country. And while a lot of these drugs being imported right now, we had major pharmaceutical companies leave the country between last year and this year. What were their complaints? High cost of running their business in Nigeria. But all hope is not lost. I reached out to Dr. Esosa, who is a doctor at a primary healthcare center right in our area here. I had to ask him, I said, let's forget about private hospitals for now. All of us cannot afford it. What about government hospitals? What about PHCs? Is antenatal free in your own PHC? Because he works at a primary healthcare center. And he said, no, it is not free at my PHC. I'm so sorry to break your heart. I said, what can we do? He said, it's easy. He said, if you can go and register for Edo State Health Insurance Scheme and apply for their basic health program, that you would spend almost next to nothing for both antenatal and birthing the child. Whether you're going to a primary healthcare center or you're going to a government-owned hospital. At the end of the day, let's call a spade and not a farm tool. We may not all be able to afford the big private hospitals. And at the end of the day, it is not all the way safe to go to a herbal house to birth your child. Anything could happen. And it would be nice if you are in a space that is prepared to handle such eventualities. And of course, a big shout out to the non-governmental organizations and the government organizations that are taking the time out to provide training and support for these birthing homes. Because, like I said, let's not lie, let's not steal. Some people, especially those in rural parts of the country, may not be able to access the bigger, whether government or private-owned institutions. However, if you're in an area where you are close to a primary healthcare center or a government hospital, you can go there and let them know that you want to sign up for a health insurance scheme available to you in your own state. We must not play with life. We must not play with health. And I'm not sure I can tell people that they should stop reproducing until they can afford to pay $400,000. So I thought to bring this to your notice and bring this conversation to your notice as well. Mother and child health is extremely important. You must be careful. You must be safe. And most importantly, take your antenatal seriously. Find a way to take it seriously. We even not come upon us. My name is Joyce Chicks. Thank you so much for joining me today on Today's Woman. This is your number one family radio station, Super 88.1 FM. I'll still be on your radio from now till 3 p.m. So stay exactly where you are. Fantastic radio continues.